Hey everybody, welcome back to another AI mastery session. This is very impromptu, so bear with me during this stream. I definitely wanted to come back because I know I've been on such an hiatus trying to get one of these Bluetooth headsets to connect. Right now, hold on 1 second. But I hope everybody is doing well. It's been a lot happening in the AI scene. I've been honestly working more so than anything, working in my regular role as well as just working on AI projects. So I just wanted to come and have a conversation. And I really feel like, this is the time to really figure out what it is that you want to create and just create it and don't get too caught up in whatever barriers you've placed for yourself. Like for me, I don't like streaming a lot because I live in a noisy household, right, with children who want to be children and play games and talk loud on the phone with their friends. So I've allowed myself to kind of accept that, if that makes sense, and be like, I can't necessarily use that as an excuse not to stream anymore. So there's just a little transparency for me. Also, I was in a little slump when it came to one of my projects that was really, I would say, highly imitated to the capacity where I literally had to rebuild the whole entire concept. I've also
I turned on my headset, so y'all should be able to hear me. Let me test it. Let me join one of my platforms. Keep pausing on my diagram. And again, like I was mentioning, if you hear the background, I'm so sorry. But we don't have to roll with the punches. All right, let me. Okay, I can hear myself. That's all I need to know. But yeah, so let's talk about areas of AI. So for me, my biggest thing right now is AI for education. I want you guys to, many of you are parents or you are guardians in some capacity or you know children, you work with children. AI for me is primary resource for education right now. As we are embarking on going back to school for the next school year, whether you are in the collegiate level or you are um, elementary, middle school, junior high, high school, wherever you fall in the totem pole, you can use AI to advance the skill sets and the education of your own child even before they get into the classroom. So if I were you, right, if I were in your position, I would get on Gemini. I'm going to talk about Google products a lot. I also had to make a decision on that as a whole because there are a lot of AI products coming out, but for certain things, certain models are just the best when it comes to that. And I would say Google is already integrated in so many school systems right now, and Gemini is a powerful platform. But one of the things that I want to highlight that you can do with Gemini is you can create custom applications through vibe coding that can tailor to the needs of your child educational journey. So, say for instance, you have a child who is in calculus, right? I remember I had calculus in my senior year of high school. If I had access to AI, I would have not landed with a C and I would have gotten an A, right? The reason being so is as a fellow neuro girly, like I've always had challenges with certain teachers who didn't necessarily reach me the way I needed to be, you know, spoken to or addressed, or the way of style of teaching and explaining things just didn't resonate with my learning style. So, with that being said, I had to like power through, even though I literally had outstanding grades, A's and B's, honors class, you name it. It didn't seem like I struggled, but you struggled. And I know if I struggled as being perceived as the super smart student, then average learners will struggle. So if you want to get your child, I'm not even going to say as far as advancing them. I'm going to say you want them to be at their primal state where they are beasting whatever grade they're going to. So if they're going into the sixth grade, they're knocking sixth grade out. They're going into the fifth grade, they're knocking fifth grade out. They're going to the 10th grade, the 11th grade, the 12th grade, they're knocking it out because they have an asset that is at their fingertips. So I've been playing around with Gemini, vibe coding different various things just to test its limits and to really see what all is possible. So with Gemini, you can prompt out what it is that you want your child to work on. So again, but let's say Jimmy is going to the fourth grade and Jimmy is learning fractions. And that's something Jimmy never worked on, and you want to start prepping Jimmy to beast in fractions. You can vibe code a tutor, a live tutoring app that can be a gamified experience for Jimmy. Now he's not only learning fractions, he has his own customized app that's teaching him fractions, and he is literally playing a game. So I know that most school systems have access to a lot of educational games, and I know from just working in the educational system myself, they really enjoy that. You know, those games actually really are preferred with a lot of students, especially if you're dealing with neurodivergent students. It's a lot of non-traditional ways that really allow those students to really shine because the way they learn is through true stimulation and application. And it's not just about your traditional format, it's about actually reaching that child. So I was recently reading a book, Can't Hurt Me, by Mr. David. It's a great book. He's a Navy SEAL. He's a powerful motivational speaker, best-selling author of that book. If you've been wanting to kind of work on any personal growth or personal development, that's one of my books that I would highly recommend and one of you read, and it is in your local library as well. So check that book out. But the reason why I brought up that book, he talked about his journey and his learning struggles. And in the book, he talked about a teacher that kind of took him under her wing, and the way she taught was like, no child left behind in the flesh, literally. And I've had the pleasure of having those um, type of teachers in my life and in my path, not even just in grade school, but in college as well. So shout out to those type of teachers. We love you. But the reason why I'm bringing that story up is because it hit on a thing that is very imperative that I feel that can bridge the gap with the educational system that can like propel a lot of these students who can go beyond the barriers that have been placed upon them because they don't fit into the status quo systemized approach of educational curriculum, especially in the public school system is specifically what I'm aiming for. So I would like you all to get your child's curriculum, kind of see what fourth grade, fifth grade, whatever grade they're going to is all about. What type of you can use AI to kind of research what the state that you live in curriculum is for that school district, and kind of add that within your prompt engineering as you're vibe coding the application so you can be in alignment. And then once you kind of already get access to your your child's student portal, however that is given to you, you can kind of communicate with your your child's instructor or teacher and get what areas they'll be working on, they can have various applications that you create free yourself using Gemini, right? And now you may, like, for instance, my mom invested in her children's education. I went to Silver Learner Center. She did whatever needed to be done to make sure that Rosemary stayed on that honor roll principal list, more so principal list, because my dad used to have this running joke that he thought was a joke. I took it quite differently. He was be back next year. He kind of meant it. So like every time I got all A's and that one little B, he would like dramatically say that every time. I'm still a little bothered by that dash, but it's okay. It it propelled me somewhere in life, you know. That tough love, I guess. When you grow up in households that push education, it can feel a bit overly stern. And I feel that I don't want a child to be forced into good grades. I want them to feel safe learning. And I feel that Gemini's abilities makes it so easy. So once you build the application, you can easily share it. So the one thing that I love about it is like once you get the app to where you like it, you can just share it to your child, and it can be even mobile friendly. I know that they're going to keep working on it um, to make the canvases better. The application that I'm speaking of on Gemini is called Canvases, and I would highly recommend that, especially getting ready to go back to school, because there was a story that was shared on social media on TikTok about a known influencer. I'm not gonna say any names or anything like that, but she shared how two of her kids had to repeat the grades that they were currently in, and it was really, really a sad situation. Anytime your child may have to be held back, that's not necessarily something you celebrate. It's a situation that's very sensitive and should be taken, with a lot of caution and care. So the first thing I thought about was how AI can implement some change in that circumstance, because obviously the child is not understanding the material, or the child struggles with standardized tests. Oh, that we're going to get into that too, but let me stick with the scenario. She shared, hey, just certain things that the child wasn't getting, and the child did not pass the standardized test. It wasn't necessarily that the child failed all through the school year, but the reason why they were being held back was because of a standardized test. And to that, I say this is another thing that AI can help with, because I was sitting here thinking about when I struggle with a standardized test. Yes, again, people wouldn't believe the things that I actually had to go through in school, because again, I'm on the stage at the honors programs. I'm getting rewarded. I was inducted into all the things, but that does not mean that my journey was a piece of cake, right? And I think standardized tests, any type of assessment and things of that nature, especially when you're dealing with neurodivergent children or children that are growing up in certain environments that are underprivileged, those kids struggle with deficiencies. And a lot of anxiety comes up when it comes to standardized tests, and they're already not getting the proper attention in their personal home environment. So in the school environment, it's not necessarily better, because of a teacher's role isn't to parent your child, is to educate your child. It's two different things. So when there's no cooperation and no real bridge for that child, the child is the one who suffers in that dynamic. Okay. So with AI, you can begin to create custom applications so that your child doesn't have to have that experience. So if you are underprivileged and you don't have the silver learning budget, my mom didn't have the budget either, but she was one of those people who made it happen. My parents, somehow, some way, I was in Silver Learning Center when I needed it, and whatever subject that my teacher was saying that, hey, little Rosemary needs a little more attention in math, or a little more attention and reading comprehension is. Now I like am really good at that. Um, but I was developed, right? I got the help that I needed. So I love that if you can't pay someone who's in the neighborhood the $20 an hour to come in and tutor your child to bring those grades up, now you can create those AI tutors right there in your home with Gemini for one being one of those platforms. And I think that is phenomenal. Another platform you can do that on is Canva, but you have to pay for that. And I want to talk about the free resources that are out there, and this is just a show that I wanted to just get that off my chest because you never know who's watching and who wants to know what can be done to push their child forward. And I think that is more so than anything right now. We want to make sure that we're cultivating the minds of our next generation as possible, as as easy and quick as possible and efficient because I feel like that's one of the biggest investments you can make, and that's just my personal opinion. So Gemini Pro, Canvas, vibe coding, use it to your fullest ability. You can also use it to create games that are kind of like fill in the blank, flashcards. You can really have fun with it. And I might do some vibe coding. The thing about vibe coding is it's one, it's time consuming. Okay, it's very time consuming when you're trying to get it to a certain way, and I don't really want to do that on a live session right now, just because I don't feel comfortable doing that, and I can just say that blatantly. There's no need to cover that up. I don't enjoy streaming vibe coding just because for me it's already a process. That's not saying that you can't do it. It's just that I prefer to not do certain things live. Everything is not meant for the public. But I want you guys to do it. That's why I will come up with some type of guide. And this is for the parents because when I heard that story and I know the standardized tests, and these are the same common issues that have been in the public school systems for years. And that child is from my hometown area, which is both of the children that was in that scenario. They are a part of the school district that I came out of in the city that I came from. So I know for a fact that that's a burden that AI can participate in lifting off of not only the children but everyone involved, the teachers, educators, and the parents, right? And the parents, excuse me. So I want you guys to check out Gemini and support Gemini. Another reason why I support Gemini and Google AI suite is because I believe they're going to be one of the most efficient platforms when it comes to true adoption of AI. They already have shown that we have Gemini within our emails, and they're not the only ones, but this is what I'm saying. Google has already been one of the primary search engines for years. With them adopting AI and in the way they're adopting AI, they're going to stay in the lead when it comes to true adoption. So if I were you, I would be trying to figure out how whatever application I'm building is going to be in connection or incongruent to Google, Google Suite. Go- Somehow Google is going to play a role. For instance, when you looking at Word, I'm trying to give a good example to you all because I know a lot of developers watch me as well, so I want to kind of like give some game when it comes to connecting applications like a whole API world. Well, with NCPs, that's gonna change just how we just operate with the internet. But what I feel like when it comes to how organizations operate, a lot of people depend on Google or Google Suite. And if you can build, like I said, models that kind of support what they have. For instance, say for instance you build a plugin for Google Meet. They have so much coming out with that offered live transcriptions of video calls. So now you can interview your virtual assistant that lives in the Philippines, and they can feel comfortable in their native language interviewing with you, and vice versa. I know that a lot of people, I was a part of an entrepreneurial circle mastermind group back, I want to say it was like 2016, 17, one of them years. And a lot of them were totally against virtual assistants that lived outside of the US just because of the language barrier. That's it. Like the person could be highly intelligent, able to do the task, but because they weren't American, they were like, no. But it really was the language barrier. And I know for a fact, if once these tools are more available to the everyday user through Google, this is what I'm saying. Google is giving AI in a way that it is to be adopted to the average user. So if you want to be a part of that, I feel like look to Google. They're gonna be one of the leading platforms ever. Like I feel like they took the biggest hit with Bard not doing as well as they expected. I'm gonna say it that way, right? So when they came back, Gemini has not failed us yet. Like, and they're just getting better and better. So when we had the pandemic, most public school systems again operate from Google. They use the Google Classrooms, they use all these Google features. So this is going to be integrated into not only the students' lives but the parents' lives. So now we're getting, you may be a professional and you work over here, but when it comes to your child, you're utilizing Google in some capacity because it has something to do with your child's education. You understand what I'm saying? So this is just my opinion that Google will stay in the lead when it comes to AI adaptation, excuse me, when it is all said and done for everyday work. Now you have Claude, and you have, which is through Anthropic, you have Mistral, you have OpenAI, you have Copilot, which I think all of those are great. This is just a few, and then you have Meta. But also, when it comes to llamas, all the llamas under Meta and all the other models, those are more so companies that you should be building with, building just your platforms, letting that be the foundational large language model for that platform, in my opinion. But when we're talking about the average everyday, they've never really understood what artificial intelligence was. They're still learning. They're day oneers, or they're just, you know, not even that into the whole process of AI. They're going to be more so introduced to it and get their experiences eventually through Gemini. Like, yes, ChatGPT took the lead and is still in the lead and probably will stay there for a minute, but it's not the same experience as we start seeing these models integrate into your organization. We've already seen the transition of how coding agents are affecting the world of software engineers, career paths, and career journeys, which I say to that, you all are the leaders when it comes to tech. If you are a senior level engineer, you can definitely build something that will be successful and sustainable. As a first time, second time, failed, I don't care, burnt out founder, I believe that you can definitely build something. If someone who's never touched tech, but they're using this new technology to build applications and found their AI software or applications companies, you can do the same. That's my sentiment. You also have the opportunity to monetize your expertise as well as your network. So I've said this before in a session like this, but I'll say it again because I've seen a lot of people kind of close knit in my network that are taking necessarily hits like that. So it's a real thing. It's not something that's a figment of people's imaginations. But I also want people to understand their own power as being a human in this AI generation. Don't lose the thought of your own existence matter. You know, you matter. You as an individual matter. There's not never going to be another you. Right? A lot of people may like the way I do content. A lot of people may say, "Oh, I don't like her content. Her content is not technical enough, or her content is not this enough." You know, you are not going to always be for everybody, but you're for sure going to be for somebody. So never discount yourself. Just partner with the tools in the world AI is playing in the world today, so that you don't get lost in your own journey. Okay, I've always looked at the AI as an enhancer, but never a replacement. I'm gonna say that again. I've always looked at AI as an enhancer, but never a replacement. So I don't want you to ever get that misconstrued. Okay. So as we continue, I want to talk about the practicing for assessments with using Gemini Canvas feature and vibe coding. You can create standardized practice tests as a vibe coding model on there so that you can help the child prep for tests more. One of the biggest things that I went to Silver Learning Center for was preparing for a standardized test. And the reason why I was so successful is because we had so many attempts to take the test, and the test that they gave us as practice tests was so similar to the actual test that I ended up always passing and doing well. Um, some of the most brilliant students, their parents paid for tutors. Their parents paid for those extra GED, not GED, Lord have mercy, ACT. I don't know why I said GED. ACT, SAT, whatever major test you're getting ready to take, you can utilize vibe coding to on Gemini, the Canvas, to build an application that can prep them over and over and over again. You can look up online example tests and feed it into the model. Basically, what I mean by feeding it, that's when you upload is the data source in that thread that you're having, and that can also play a role into building the application. So there you have it. So it's it's pretty powerful, and honestly, the everyday learner, everyday user can do it. It may take a minute for you to kind of grasp what I'm saying because I'm making it so practical because it is. But if you can communicate with just talking, you can prompt. You can prompt. You can prompt. Okay. And I just want to see more educational applications in the marketplace because that's what's really hot. Kids are going back to school. Think about how you can assist those children to having a better learning experience and getting not only uh, up to speed but ahead of the curve that they're on. So, highlight of today, you definitely want to check out Gemini. I'll pull it up here. Like I told you, I'm not gonna vibe code, but I will show you something that I've coded, and it's a game. I made it as like a vocabulary type of game, and it's super cool. Like in my opinion, and it looks like here it is. Yeah, it's called Wordfall. I'm just literally gonna share the screen just so you can see it, and I'm just gonna click start the game, and you're just gonna see like this is super powerful. Let's share the screen. All right, here is the game, and I vibe coded this. So it starts with a briefing, so you can see everything, all the words, robust, all these words, and it gives like the definition, so you can kind of practice, and you can go through a review almost, and then you click start wave, and now it's a game, right? And you get to click and play the game. And this can be right. So this can be an example of an educational game you can make for your child, right? So again, I'm just gonna click one. So you see it has a score, everything works. I'm just letting it go through. So boom, it has final score. Create this. It doesn't take more than a day to do it. So you can break it up into like 2 or 3 2-hour sessions. But I wanted to show you that you can share it. And what you do is you just share the canvas, and boom, you literally have your own link that you can copy this, and I've actually like text and sent this out. I'll show you another thing that I vibe coded. This is a piano instructor. Let me see if I can find it. It was a while ago. Not gonna lie. Okay, I think this is it. Nope. Yeah, no, that's not it. Hopefully, I can find it. If not, I think this is the last version. But I created this as a piano tutor. So boom, this is a real keyboard, and this is actually a complete match to my niece's actual keyboard. So the keys align perfectly. So you got, I put Mary Had a Little Lamb in there, Fireworks by Katy Perry, a Beethoven song, Thousand Miles. So it's different ones, but she can start the lesson and it's playing the keys, and then she can say do over. Like I coded all of this by prompt. I prompted it for the encouragement, and she can play it along, so it plays the keys, so she can see what keys she needs to play, and not only that, it highlights it. You see how it's highlighting? So C, C, G, G, A, G, boom. And then she can go to the next part. So we got the next part. I made sure that it kept highlighting this. This is all customized, you know. This is a passion project, is what I like to call it, but it allows you to create applications. So you can do something like this for your child, for the child that you are creating this for. Definitely, this should go insane in the educational system because this alone is crazy. Now, I love Canvas app builder. I'm not gonna go into it, but yeah, super amazing. So you definitely want to check that out. That's something that you want to check out. But that is all today for my quick AI mastery session. I wanted to highlight Gemini today. Definitely check them out. I definitely feel that they are going to be one of the primary models in our process of fully adopting AI in organizational structures, around the world. And I see it as an opportunity to advance the education for a any child when this type of technology is available. So this is all done inside of the Canvas. You see me kind of lecture about it before I showed you what I've demoed. So I've just demoed you two different applications that I built that are educational. We have a customized piano tutor, and I've created a word ball game. So the sky's the limit. It did take some time. I encourage you to break your sessions up, but it is possible. So I love y'all with the love of Christ, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.